नामस्मरणं मम जीवनम् तव नामस्मरणं मम जीवनम् तव नामश्रवणं परमानन्दम् तव रूपग्रहणं भवहरणं तव रूपग्रहणं भवहरणं तव पादसेवनं मम रक्षकम् तव पादसेवनं मम रक्षकम् तव नामस्मरणं मम जीवनम् तव नामस्मरणं मम जीवनम् ब्रह्मानन्दं स्वामी नामं नेत्रानन्दं स्वामी रूपं नित्यानन्दं स्वामी गीतं हृदयानन्दं स्वामी बोधम् आत्मानन्दं स्वामी ध्यानम् आनन्दं परमानन्दं स्वामी सेवनम् आनन्दम् आनन्दं परमानन्दं स्वामी सेवनमानन्दम् ॐ गुरुनाथ जय गुरुनाथ 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 स्वामी सेवनमानन्दं स्वामी सेवनमानन्दम्
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च Humble prostrations to one and all. So in the last class, we had seen Nachiketa goes to his father to take permission to go to the abode of Lord Yama, Lord Death. Father was unwilling to leave him, but then Nachiketa was adamant. He even gives a piece of advice to his father. Anupashya yatha purve pratipashya tatha pare. Sasyamiva martyah pachyate sasyamiva ajayate punah. Oh dear father, we must learn the noble lessons from the great ones of the past, how they lived their life without compromising with the higher values of life. They must be our role model. What is the purpose of deviating from the truth for this transitory, impermanent, uncertain existence in this world of mortals? So therefore, they must be our role models. We should stick to the path of righteousness. The father had no choice. He had to leave his beloved son. So in the next verse, we find Nachiketa has already reached the door of Yamaraja's house. So now here, very many people ask this question: how did Nachiketa reach there? People are so curious, so inquisitive to know how Nachiketa reached Yamaloka. Very many times the curiosity is, in this regard, is much more intense than knowing what is said in Kathopanishad. Anyway, the answer to this is, the very fact that Kathopanishad has not mentioned shows that that particular aspect is not important for us. This can be one answer. Since the Upanishad has not mentioned it, it simply means we need not bother about it, because after all it's a story. This is one answer. But still, if we analyze this question, what could be the practical, logical way of answering this question? How Nachiketa reached Yamaloka? So, the answer which we may possibly think of is this. It is possible that Nachiketa left his father and went to some solitary place or some bank of a river, away from the crowd, and then he took a vow of fast unto death. This is possible. So he was lying there. And he was lying there for 3 days. Now these 3 days, it is mentioned here. For 3 days he did not eat anything, he did not drink anything. So therefore he was fasting for 3 days. So we may assume that he was fasting unto death. So now, this poetic expression, very many times we find in the scriptures. Very many times we use it also in our day-to-day language. That person escaped from the jaws of death. He was caught in the clutches of death. He returned from the doorsteps of death. All these usages we have. So in the same way, we can assume that Nachiketa was waiting at the doorstep of death. This can be a poetic expression. He was waiting at the doorstep of death. Now this is called as poetic expression. You don't have to take it literally. You have to just take the essence of it. This poetic expression we find in Bhagavad Gītā also. In the 11th chapter, there is a Vishvarūpa darshana of Bhagavan. So in that, Arjuna sees the future. So what does he see? So in that he sees that Bhagavan as Kala Bhagavan, as time, he is devouring Bhishma, Drona, Jayadratha, Karna, etc. So what did he see? He sees that they are being chewed by Kala Bhagavan. He could see their body parts coming out and Bhagavan is chewing them. This is what Arjuna sees in that Vishvarūpa darshana regarding future. But then we all know that there was no such chewing, there was no such Kala Bhagavan who came and chewed them, etc. No. Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Jayadratha, they died fighting the battle. It is not that somebody came and chewed them. It is not. So therefore, everything need not be taken literally. This is the point. So when it is said that Nachiketa reached the doorsteps of Yamaraj, we have to just assume that Nachiketa took a fast of vow, took a vow of fast unto death. So in this process, 3 days he did not eat, he did not drink. It was literally like waiting at the doorsteps of Yama. So this is the way we will have to understand this one particular aspect. Right. Now continuing with the story. So Nachiketa was waiting there for 3 days. Yamaraj comes after 3 days and then his wife tells Yamaraj, what does she say? Vaishvanarav pravishati atithihi brahmano grihan. Brahmanaha atithihi vaishvanaraiva grihan pravishati. A Brahmana atithi, he enters the house like Vaishvanara, like fire. So tasya etam shantim kurvanti haravaivasvata udakam. So this is the way we have to propitiate a Brahmana guest. So take this water and go. So this is the instruction maybe of the wife of Yamaraj. So what happens when a Brahmana guest is not honored, is not respected? That is the content of the next verse. So this is where we had stopped in the last class. So now we go to the next verse, verse number 8. Page number 20. Asha Pradeekshe sangatam sunratam cha Ishta purte putra pashumscha sarvan Etat vrunte purushasya Yasyānashnan vasati brāhmano grihe Asha pratīkshe sangatam sundratam cha Ishta purte putra pashumscha sarvan Etad vrunte purushasya Yasyānashnan vasati brāhmano grihe. So what is said here? So this is said by the wife of Yamaraj, saying if we don't honor a Brahmana guest, these are the things which you are going to lose. So what is being said? Etat sarvan vrunte. Etat sarvan vrunte. All these things will be destroyed. For whom? Purushasya alpamedhasah. Alpamedhasah purushasya, the person who is unintelligent. Alpamedhas. A person who is unintelligent, for him all these things will be destroyed. But who is that unintelligent person? Yasya grihe brahmanah anashnan vasati. Yasya grihe, in whose house Brahmana, the noble guest, anashnan, without eating food, vasati, he stays. So in the house where a Brahmana stays without eating food, in such a house, for such a person, all these things will go away. All these things will be destroyed. What are the things which will be destroyed? Asha, Pradeeksha, Sangatam, Sundrutam, Ishta, Apurta, Putra, Pashu. So 8 factors are mentioned here. So we will see each one of them. So all these 8 factors will be destroyed for a person who does not feed a Brahmana in his house. So what are the 8? The first one is Asha. Asha means hopes. Hopes. And the second one is Pradeeksha. Pradeeksha means expectations. Now what is the difference between Asha and Pradeeksha? So both of them are related to the future. Asha is also about the future, Pradeeksha is also about the future. Now what is the difference? Asha means hopes. Hopes means we desire so many things in the future, but there is no clear understanding about what they are. So all those desires can be called as Asha. We are not clear about what is going to happen. For example, people say all Shubha should happen in the future. All auspicious things should happen in my life in future. But what they are, I don't know. But this is what I hope. Most of us, we desire heaven after death. We don't want to go to Naraka, we want to go to Swarga. Now there is no idea about what that Swarga is. We don't have any idea. We don't have a clear picture, but still we desire to go there. So all those such desires where there is no clarity, where we don't know what is going to happen in the future, but we have that desire. So all such desires are called Asha. And what is Pradeeksha? As far as Pradeeksha is concerned, you clearly know what you are expecting. You are waiting for something. And there is a reasonable clarity as to what is going to happen. For example, people expect to get a good job, to get married, to have children, to settle. Now these are all Pradeeksha, because you know what is going to happen in the future. So Asha and Pradeeksha, hopes and expectations, they will be destroyed for a person who disrespects a Brahmana. This is the point. So Asha, Pradeeksha, the third one is Sangatam. Sangatam means good company or satsang. Satsang is called Sangatam. Now what is the role which satsang have to play in our life? Satsang gives a right knowledge, right understanding about life. And now this right understanding is absolutely necessary in living a life of fulfillment. This is absolutely necessary. How much necessary is right knowledge while living? It is as necessary as the ability to see while walking. A person who is walking, he must see first. He must know where to walk. Whether it is safe to walk in a particular place, he must see, and then he has to walk. So how much important is seeing while walking? The same importance has to be given to knowing while living. Right knowledge is absolutely essential, and this right knowledge we get from satsang. What happens when we don't get this noble company, good company, satsang? What happens when we don't get the knowledge of the scriptures? So in Bhagavad Gītā the verse is Moghasha, Mogha Karmana, Mogha Jnana Vichetasaha, Rakshasim, Asurim Chaiva, Prakritim, Mohinim Sritaha. What happens to their life? A person who has no right knowledge. Moghatjnana. Moghatjnana means faulty knowledge. A person who has faulty knowledge about life, his thinking will be faulty. His desires will be faulty. His decision makings will be faulty. His actions will be faulty. Everything will be faulty. So such a person's life will be rakshasim asurim, Bhagavan says. It will be full of sense pleasures, full of sensuality, full of selfishness, and full of destructive actions. That is also possible. So in short, that person wastes this rare human birth. This is what happens when we don't have right knowledge. So the first thing in life is get the right knowledge about what is life, what is the purpose of life. And this is the glory of satsang. So sangatam. So all the benefits of good company, this satsang, this person will lose if he disrespects, if he doesn't feed his guest. Sangatam. Then sundratam. Sundratam means sweet words. Sweet words. This is a great wealth, Upanishad says. The ability to speak sweetly. No doubt we have to speak truth, but then another very important aspect is we must also speak words in a sweet way. In Bhagavad Gītā, it is called as Vāṅmaya tapas. It is austerity at the level of speech. So the verse says, Anudvegakaram Vakyam Satyam Priyam Hitam. So all these four factors have to be taken into account when you speak. So what are the four factors? Anudvegakaram. It should not agitate the minds of others. Anudvegakaram Vakyam Satyam. Whatever you speak, it must be truthful. Satyam Priyam. It should be sweetly spoken. It must be pleasing, priyam. And then hitam, it should be something which is beneficial for the other person. So those words which don't agitate the minds of others, which are truthful, which are pleasing, and which are useful, beneficial, only then we must speak those statements. Now this is called as Vak tapas in Bhagavad Gītā. So this speaking truth in a sweet way, it is a great wealth, it is a great austerity. So specifically this one great virtue is mentioned in this Upanishad among all these great assets, great wealths, sweet words. So what happens when a person is able to do this? When a person is able to speak sweetly, you will find that that person is liked by everybody, loved by everybody, respected by everybody. This is what happens. When we use harsh words, the first thing is our own mind gets disturbed. The second thing is others' mind get disturbed and they all run away from us. But when we use sweet words, number one, we are at peace with ourselves. Number two, we are in harmony with the entire creation. So we experience happiness and we give happiness to others. This is very interesting. When I speak sweet, when I am good to others, others become helpless and choiceless in becoming good to me. This is a law. Whatever you give, you get. So when I am good to others, others helplessly, choicelessly become good to me. So now the relationship is whenever you are good, you are happy. Goodness and happiness, they go together. Good thoughts and happiness, they go together. Good actions and happiness, they go together. So you are forcing goodness from others. So naturally others will be happy. So in your company, they are happy. So therefore, they love your company. It's very interesting. So a person who is able to speak sweetly, he is loved by all. This one thing. He is at peace within himself. So it's a great wealth. Very interestingly, in our culture, Sarasvatī Devī is called as Vidya Devi and also as Vag Devi. Saraswati is called Vidya Devi and Vag Devi. Now you will find that these two are related to each other. Vag Devi means goddess of speech. Vidya Devi means goddess of learning. So learning and speech, they are connected. So if we have to speak sweetly, then a necessary condition is we must have control over our tongue, our indriya, Vagindriya. So sweet speech necessarily implies control over the tongue. Now if you have to have control over the tongue, you will have to have control over your mind, your emotions, etc. Now if you have to have control over the mind, you will have to have control over your intellect. Now if you have to have control over the intellect, the necessary condition is you must have right understanding, which is nothing but knowledge. So a person who has knowledge, he has control over the intellect, his mind, his senses, and therefore his speech. So Vidya and Vak, they are connected. So that is why Saraswati called Vidya Devi or Vak Devi. The entire, now this is the glory of speech. What is the glory? You just imagine entire Chinmaya mission is working, is functioning throughout the world only because of this. Truth is spoken, and it is spoken in a sweet way, in a way it can be understood by all. Sundratam. See the power of speech. The speech can be equally dangerous also. It is a double-edged weapon, we can say. It can be very dangerous. We utter something foolish, something harsh, and the other person remembers it. Very many times we hear people saying, 20, 30 years back, this person has used such a word against me, I cannot forget it. He spoke such and such way to me. Now this person is remembering me so many years back something had happened. He remembers the term used, the word used, the statement used. It is as though it has been etched on the stone plate of his heart, the metal plate of his heart. It has been carved as though. You cannot rub it away. It remains there as a permanent mark. Now this is the power of words. Not only in the negative sense, the positive sense also. Sometimes people are totally broken, depressed. At that time you use some word and then suddenly he is inspired. A statement, a word is used, he is inspired. And then again this person remembers. There was a time when I was totally broken, depressed, dejected. At that time this person came and spoke this statement, and that completely transformed my life. That piece of advice. This way also people see. So see the power of words. So a person who can choose words and convey the message, it's a great talent, it's a great wealth, says Upanishad. Sundratam. Many times people say truth is always bitter. In fact, the statement is not right. Truth is truth, but the way it is made bitter or sweet depends upon the words used to convey the truth. This we have to understand. Whether the truth is made bitter or sweet depends upon the words used to convey that truth. So this story all of you must be knowing, the story of this astrologer, two astrologers who went to meet the king. The first astrologer said, "O king, in front of your eyes all your children are going to die. You will have to go through that sorrow. Your near and ones are going to die in front of your eyes. You have to witness them." The second astrologer said, "O king, you are so lucky. You will see the face of your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. You will receive love and respect from them. You are so blessed that you have such a long life." Now this is called as choice of words. The same thing is spoken, but the way you speak, the words which you choose to convey that truth, it makes a huge difference. Now it's a great talent, it's a great wealth, it's a great tapas, it's a great austerity. And a person who chooses right words, he becomes not only materially prosperous, he also spiritually evolved. So make use of this great wealth. This is the message of this one word, Sundratam. Then the next one is Ishta. This is the fifth term, Ishta. What is Ishta? So all actions we do for meeting our personal needs and personal desires, such actions are called Ishta karma. And the other one, Apurta, the sixth term, Apurta karma is all those actions which we do, which is for the welfare of the society, or charitable actions we can say. To express our gratitude towards the society has given so many things to us. It's a big infinite list, what all society has provided us. So therefore, each and every one of us, we must be grateful to the society. We must do something for the society. So all such selfless activities, charitable activities, they are called as Apurta karma. So what happens when you do such karma? No doubt you get respect and love from the society, that is one thing. But in the process your mind is purified, and also you acquire a lot of punya. With this punya you get a more conducive future environment. In the future also these punyas are used to create the environment around you. So this punya becomes a great help. So Ishta karma and Apurta karma, sixth one. Seventh one is Putra. Putra means what? Putra means son. So here you have to say children, Putra. So any householder will desire to have efficient children, responsible children, cultured children, disciplined children. Any householder will desire to have. Now what are the use of these children? Well, when we grow old, they are the ones who have to take care of us. This is one great benefit. Also, whatever we have, whatever assets we have, whether it is a home or the property or the business, whatever assets we have, when we find that our children are responsible, there is a great sense of fulfillment in handing over these assets to them. It's a great pain to see when our children, they squander away all this hard-earned money of their fathers and forefathers. It's a great pain. Very many times that happens. So therefore, every householder will desire responsible, cultured, noble children. So that is called as Putra here. Now Putra can also mean Shishya. As far as Swamis and Sannyasis are concerned who belong to certain spiritual institution, what will they desire? They will not have Putra, but they will desire Shishyas, efficient disciples, full of virtues. Even Swamis and Sannyasis also desire. They desire good, efficient, noble Shishyas. For what? So there is a spiritual institution started by their Guru. For example, Chinmaya mission, let us say. Puja Gurudev has started this Chinmaya mission. So it is started with a particular purpose of disseminating spiritual knowledge to the masses. So naturally we want this institution to stay, and this institution can stay only when we have Shishyas, virtuous Shishyas, who are interested in the study of the scriptures, who are good in disseminating knowledge. So it is very important. So every spiritual master will desire to have such shishyas. Very many times we find in the society, there is a spiritual institution started by some great Mahatma, but because they don't have successors, that spiritual institution decays and dies away. It is just on the paper that such an institution is there, but no activity happens there. It becomes totally inactive and useless for the society. This happens because there are no good shishyas. So therefore, putra or shishya, these are all great wealths. And then eighth one is pashu. Pashu means actually cattle or animal, but here pashu has to be taken as wealth. So in those times, a person's wealth was decided by how many cows he had, how many horses he had, how many elephants he had. So they had big, Ashwashala and Gajashala and Goshala, etc. So in those times, pashu was a measure to know one's wealth. So pashu here means wealth. So now, what is the point? So these 8 things, now these 8 things are very, very important. Important as far as the material world is concerned. All of us, we desire all these 8 things. These are the 8 factors to be taken into. Now this is the message given by the Upanishad. These 8 factors must be kept in mind while living in this world, if we have to live happily and peacefully. So, what happens to a person who disrespects a Brahmana? In whose house a Brahmana lives without food, what happens? All these 8 things, they are lost. That is a message. That is a message. So therefore, atithi-satkāra must be done. A Brahmana atithi must be respected, fed well, propitiated. Now here there is another topic which we have to discuss, and the topic is, who is an atithi? So generally we translate this term atithi as guest. So it is not a perfect translation, but we have no choice but to use this term. Therefore we are using this term, because such a perfectly meaningful word is not there in English. So who is an atithi? Atithi, the one who comes to your house without mentioning tithi, date and time, is called atithi. As far as a guest is concerned, he can be called satithi. He comes with a prior appointment. He comes to you. Before that he tells the time and date, etc., and then he visits your house. Then that is not atithi but is satithi. But here what is mentioned is atithi. Now why this term comes, we have to understand. So for that we have to go back into our ancient times. So in ancient times we did not have mobile phones. We did not have proper transport system. We did not have hotels. And so therefore people who have to go from one place to another, they have to, most of the time they have to walk. Or at the most they have to use some bullock cart, which is not very fast also. So the travel is very slow. So very many days they have to travel in order to reach the destination. So many days you have to travel means what? There are many nights which you will have to pass during travel. Now during nights, in those times we had a lot of forests also. So therefore lot of wild animals also. And also lot of robbers also. Yes, in every society you will find people who are there to take undue advantage of situations where people can be exploited. So all those things, problems were there. So night travel was dangerous. So therefore, people who are traveling, they needed place to stay. Shelter was necessary. And they did not know where they will reach. So every night they needed the shelter. So it cannot be pre-planned. You don't know where you are going to reach while traveling. So everything was uncertain. So therefore, the scriptures made it a rule. What is the rule? Atithi-devo bhava. Whoever is there, a person who is in need for shelter, need for food, if that person comes to your house, then treat him, worship him like God. Consider taking care of his needs as worship of the Lord. Now this is the meaning atithi-devo bhava. So this essence we have to understand. Atithi-devo bhava means when a person is in need, fulfill his needs according to your circumstances. As much as possible, try to fulfill that person's need and consider it as a worship of the Lord. This is the meaning. So such a person is called atithi. So he comes to your house. So he is traveling somewhere. Now it has already become night. So he comes to your house. He has not informed you prior. So he has come to you without mentioning tithi. So such a person is called atithi. Now you will find that this atithi is not a known person. He is a stranger who has come to your doorstep in order to get some help from you, mainly shelter. So therefore, in the olden times you find normally they build the house, and along with it they also build one hall in front of their house, or maybe some room there with the doors open so that anyone can come there, lie down. Some mats are also put, maybe some water is also kept. So anyone can come at any time, take rest and go away without disturbing the privacy of this householder. So such rooms were created, such halls were created in those days. So anyone can come, take rest and go. So therefore this point has to be kept in mind whenever we think of atithi. Nowadays the times have changed. We have mobile phones, we have hotels, and we have what you call transport systems. So the times have totally changed. Now this term called atithi has become obsolete. It has no meaning now, because that person can call you, inform you, fix the time, date, etc., and then come to your house. So the spirit has to be understood when we say atithi-devo bhava. The spirit is whenever a person comes who is in need of something, and if you are able to fulfill that need, it is within your range, your ability. If you are able to fulfill the need of that person, please fulfill that need and consider it as a worship of the Lord. Manava seva is Madhava seva. This is the meaning atithi-devo bhava. Now, if that atithi is a Brahmana atithi, then all the more there is a greater reason to serve that person. Please remember the definition of Brahmana. A noble person, a cultured person who is living to serve the society, such a person is called a Brahmana. He takes minimum from the society and gives maximum to the society. So his life, whatever he does it for the welfare of all. You can say he is living for the welfare of all. Such a person is a Brahmana atithi. So when such a person comes to you asking food, shelter, etc., then definitely you must give him. So that person is called Agni here, Vaishwanara. When you serve such a person, your punya skyrockets. It's a great punya to serve a person who is selfless, who is noble, who is sattvic, because that person is very near to God, is a divine person. Serving such a person greatly adds to our punya account, so says the scriptures. Also, In the last class I had said, a Brahmana atithi, a Brahmana, a noble person, he represents knowledge. So disrespecting a Brahmana is disrespecting knowledge. Disrespecting knowledge is inviting ignorance into your life, and ignorance about life is the source of all evil, the source of all inauspiciousness. So therefore, what happens to such a person? All these 8 things that person loses. So therefore, we must never disrespect such a noble guest, such a Brahmana atithi. This is the message here. So therefore, this wife says to Yamaraj, all these 8 things, Asha, Pradeeksha, Sangatam, Sundrutam, Ishta, Apurta, Putra, Pashu, all these 8 things will be lost to a person. So immediately go and propitiate him. So therefore Yamaraj goes. He does the Pada Puja of this Nachiketa who was seated there. Achavanam, Arghyam, Padyam, etc., Dakshina, etc., everything is given. Puja is done. He bows down to that boy, Brahmana atithi. And then Yamaraj speaks these words to Nachiketa. What are those words? What does he tell Nachiketa? So that is verse number 9, page number 22. So let us chant that verse. Tisro ratir yadavasir grihe me anashnan brahman atithir namasyah namastestu brahman swasti me astu tasmat prati trin varan vrinishva. Tisro ratrir yadavasit grihe me anashnan brahman atithir namasyah namastestu brahman swasti me astu tasmat prati trin varan vrinishva. So now Yamaraj, after doing Pada Puja, etc., he speaks to Nachiketa. Now see these words. Namaste astu Brahman. O noble Brahmana, O noble guest, Namaste astu. My prostrations to you. Atithihi namasyah. A guest, a Brahmana atithi is worshipful. Atithihi namasyah. A guest is worshipful. But unfortunately, what happened? Tisraha ratrihi, for 3 nights, me grihe, in my house, anashnan avatsihi. You had to stay without food. A Brahmana atithi is highly worshipful, but unfortunately, what has happened? For 3 nights, you had to stay in my house without food. It's highly unfortunate. Such a thing should have never happened, but unfortunately, it has happened. So therefore, you suffered because of me. I became the cause of your suffering. Please forgive me. I sincerely apologize for the mistake that has happened from my part. So therefore, tasmat prati, for these 3 nights, trin varan vrinishva. You can ask 3 boons. Swasti me astu. May all auspiciousness befall me. Now see these words of Yamaraj. This shows the greatness of Yamaraj. The sweetness in his words, his humility, his justice. Everything we can see in these words. Generally, the idea which people have about Yamaraj is, riding on a buffalo, dark, huge person, red eyes, full of anger and full of strictness, full of, a fearful look. And what does he do? He goes to that person and that person is trembling. And then he puts that noose around his neck and he drags him mercilessly, cruelly. He drags him to Yamaloka. This is the kind of picture which we have when we speak about Yamaraj, isn't it? Of course, that picture is correct also. In the sense, people who are uncultured and sensuous and who have no discipline in life, who have lived a licentious life, for them, yes, this picture of Yamaraj is perfectly right. In fact, this description we find in Puranas, etc. The way Yamadutas come or Yama comes, these are the description. While handling the uncultured ones, yes, Yamaraj is this, accepted. But you see, while handling the cultured ones, the noble ones, the devotees of the Lord, see the attitude of Yamaraj. Full of humility. Going there, washing the feet of this little boy. Remember, he is just a boy of 7 or 8 years. Whereas Yamaraj, he is a Brahmanishta jnani, he is a realized person and a devata also. So here is this Yamaraj going to this little boy, worshipping him, bowing down to him, washing his feet, doing his puja. And the words are also so sweet. A Brahmana is worshipful. I am really sorry. It is indeed a big mistake from me. I have committed this mistake. You had to suffer because of me. Now see, this is called culture. This is called spiritual evolution. What is that? That sensitivity of mind. When somebody suffers because of me, I become miserable. When I become the cause of somebody's suffering, then I become miserable, thinking about that. To the extent you are miserable, to that extent you are evolved. To that extent, your mind is pure. What about the uncultured person? This person gives pain to everyone, but he is unaffected. Like the stone falling on a, on a flower. The flower is crushed, but nothing happens to stone. So people who are insensitive, they don't feel any kind of misery. They don't feel any kind of sympathy or compassion, nothing. Now this is the sign of an impure mind. The sign of a pure mind, it is very sensitive. When I become the cause of somebody's misery, somebody's sorrow, I become miserable. As though that misery has come to me. The misery of the other person. You will find that this same quality we find in Nachiketa also. When he found that his father became miserable, his father shouted at him, so that means father became miserable. So he was thinking in this direction, what is the mistake I have done because of which my father became disturbed. I became the cause of misery for my father. It's a mistake. So then he starts this contemplation, introspection. So everywhere you will find this. A cultured person, when he becomes the source of misery for others, he becomes introspective and he blames himself, he becomes miserable. So what happened? Yamaraj not only did Pada Puja, that was something which he has to do. he had to do. That is the role which he was playing. He was playing the role of atithi-satkāra, the role of a host. So it is something which is expected from him. He is just fulfilling the role in the society. But then additionally, he says, "O noble guest, because you have suffered because of me, therefore I give these 3 boons to you. As a part of atonement, as a prāyaschitta karma, so that you are really pleased. I know that you are pleased with this puja, etc. I know. But even then, for my satisfaction, for my sense of fulfillment, I am giving these 3 boons." So see how beautifully Upanishad is guiding us. How our conduct should be. Just imagine, here is a person who is a realized, master, a Brahmajnani, and that Brahmajnani, what is he doing? He is doing Pada Puja. Of whom? Of just a 7-year-old boy. This is something which we have to again meditate upon. Your actions, your external actions don't depend on your inner state. Your external actions will depend upon the role you play in the society. What is the role you play in the society? Accordingly should be your external actions, not according to the internal state. Yamaraj, no doubt he was a Brahmajnani, that was his internal state. But what was the role he was playing there in that particular context? He was a Grihastha, he was the host, he was the atithi-satkāra. So therefore, what is his role? His role is to worship the atithi. So therefore, he is doing that part. This has to be understood. Our actions are determined, our external actions are determined by the role we play in the society and not by the inner state. It is something like saying, where are you going to wear the gold ornament? It depends upon the type of ornament. It doesn't depend upon the content of the ornament. Suppose there is a, gold plated necklace. Where will you wear? You have to wear it around your neck. But suppose there is a 24 carat or say 22 carat gold anklet. So where you have to wear? It may be gold, but it's an anklet. So you will have to wear on your ankles. Now see the difference. It may be gold, but its place is down below. Another thing, it is not gold, it is just gold plated, but its position is there around the neck. So what is important is the external form, not the internal essence. So in the same way, our action in the society depends upon our role we play in the society and not the inner state of evolution. This is what we find in the life of Bhagavan Sri Ramchandraji and Lord Krishna also. They were God himself. But then they played their role. They prostrated to their gurus, their teachers, etc. They bow down to them in front of Rishi Munis because that is the role they are playing. So according to that role, that is what they were supposed to do. They may be Bhagavan himself, but in that context, that is the role they were supposed to play. So this point also we have to keep in mind. So therefore, this verse beautifully says how cultured Yamaraj was. No doubt he has come to that post. Yamaraj is normally called as Dharmaraj. Dharmaraj means what? A king of virtues. Dharma means virtues. An embodiment of virtues. This is another name for Yamaraj, Dharmaraj. Sometimes we call Yama Dharmaraj. These are the different names of Lord Death. An embodiment of virtues. So all those virtues we can find. The greatest among all virtues is, yes, humility. That we clearly see here. He is saying, "O Brahmana, bless me. Swasti me astu. Bless me. That everything goes well. That all auspiciousness will befall upon me. Please bless me." The term Yama means to control. So who is Yamaraj? The one who controls everyone. Now the law is, you have the right to control others only when you know how to control yourself. Only a person who has control over himself can control others. This is the law. If you have control over your mind, you can control the minds of others. So Yamaraj means a person who has total mastery upon himself. This is another meaning. So greatness of that Yamaraj. Anyway, in the future also we will see the greatness of Yamaraj. So he says, going down to this Nachiketa, he says, "Please bless me. This mistake I have done, you have to suffer because of me. So therefore, as an act of atonement, prāyaschitta karma, I ask you, I request you to ask for 3 boons." Now, in the next verse we find Nachiketa asking boons. So what is that first boon? Let us see in the next class, because the time is up. Right. Om Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं परात्परं शङ्करम् अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं परात्परं नित्यशुद्धनिरञ्जनं निराकारमेकाम्बरं नित्यशुद्धनिरञ्जनं निराकारमेकाम्बरं पशुपतिं भवपाशबन्धविमोचनम् उमापतिं पशुपतिं भवपाशबन्धविमोचनम् उमापतिं पाशबन्धविमोचनं पाशबन्धविमोचनं शङ्करम् अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं परात्परं शङ्करम् अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं परात्परम् नीलकण्ठं वह्निनयनं नित्यनिर्मलभासितं नीलकण्ठं वह्निनयनं नित्यनिर्मलभासितं भासितं भस्माङ्गदं शोभितं सुशोभितं भासितं भस्माङ्गदं शोभितं सुशोभितं पशुपतिं भवपाशबन्धविमोचनं पशुपतिं भवपाशबन्धविमोचनम् उमापतिं पाशबन्धविमोचनम् उमापतिं पाशबन्धविमोचनं शङ्करम् अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं परात्परं शङ्करम् अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं परात्परम् अक्षरं परमाक्षरं पञ्चाक्षरं शिवाक्षरम् अक्षरं परमाक्षरं पञ्चाक्षरं शिवाक्षरम् अष्टकं पुरि अष्टकं तत्त्वकं परतत्त्वकम् अष्टकं पुरि अष्टकं तत्त्वकं परतत्त्वकं पशुपतिं भवपाशबन्धविमोचनम् पशुपतिं भवपाशबन्धविमोचनम् उमापतिं पाशबन्धविमोचनम् उमापतिं पाशबन्धविमोचनं शङ्करम् अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं परात्परं शङ्करम् अभयङ्करं शशिशेखरं